Well, today's video is sponsored by Black Gold Compost Company. We want to thank the good people over at Black Gold for their generous donation of all this black cow manure that we're using in our video today. Thank you for sponsoring our channel. Well, good morning, homestead homies. Had a request to grow some carrots in 5-gallon buckets, so that's what today's video is container grown carrots. I'll be right back. Well, welcome back, friends. One of our subscribers, requested that we grow some carrots in containers because she doesn't have a yard and she really loves carrots, and if we could just do a video on how to do it in a container, then she would be able to grow them herself. And I said, you better believe it, we'll be happy to do that for you. So today's video, we're going to grow these carrots in a couple of 5-gallon buckets just to demonstrate the procedure for you, because really there ain't nothing much to it, okay? It's pretty easy. So anyway, I got these seeds, and these are pelleted seeds. I got them from johnnyseed.com online. So if you want to grow some carrots, go over to Johnny Seed, check out their website. They got all kinds of good stuff. The seeds I'm using is Gold Nugget and also Red Sun. Two real good varieties. So what I'm going to do is I wanted you to take a look at these things. The seeds are actually pelleted. If you're wondering what pelleted means, it's really just a clay covering, a coating that is on that raw seed. It's coated in clay, and it makes that seed very uniform, very round, very easy to handle. Especially for me, I use a 4-point pin drop, a 4-point seed dropper. I also got that from Johnny Seed, but that's how I drop my seeds, and it has little holes that it has to fall through, so it needs to be a certain size, and they need to be consistent and uniform, and that's what you get with pelleted. For the buckets, I'm using the pelleted seeds as well instead of the raw seed, because if you take raw seed and you sprinkle it in the bucket and you get it growing, then you have to come back and, thin them down. I mean, I hate to thin stuff down. So I grew some in the buckets just to show you what it looks like when you use the raw seed, and then you have to come back and thin it down. Nancy thinned it down yesterday, so she's got it down about where she wants it. But with these pelleted seeds, it makes it real easy to just put your finger right in the soil and just pop some little dimples in there, and you can individually drop one little pelleted seed in each hole. And then all we do is just cover it up with about a 1/4 inch of soil, and they're good. Now I'm going to be using bone meal to amend this soil. I use the container soil that I'm using in today's video. I make it myself, and Nancy can give you a link to our video of how to make container soil at home. And you can do it yourself at home if you want. Or if you just got a couple of buckets, just go buy some container soil at the, your local nursery and just dump them in. But I got the container soil ready to go. I use bone meal in the soil to amend it, to give it a higher phosphorus content. I want more phosphorus on these carrots because it promotes the root growth, and I want the roots to really shoot down in that bucket. And the reason I use a 5-gallon bucket is because these carrots can get 8, 10, 12 inches long, so I don't want to put it in a short container. I want it in a deep container so it can get, that taproot can get on down there. So let me get these over here in the bucket, and let's get started on how to do this, because you can do this on your back patio. Let's get started. Okay, I got my 2 5-gallon buckets ready to go. If you've never used a 5-gallon bucket before, we've got another video I'd like for you to go check it out. It just shows you how to drill holes in the bottom of these buckets and what kind of buckets to use. And it's very simple to do. Nancy will give you a link to that video. Go check it out. It'll show you how to put the holes in. So you definitely got to have drainage in these buckets. So I've got my holes drilled. I've got my my buckets filled with my homemade container mix. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in bone meal. It's a 125-0, very high in phosphorus, so it's a good organic source of phosphorus. And I put in about a half a cup right there. Once I got it in, I kind of stir it in a little bit. There we go. Next step is I want to flood the container so that it can stand in about 2 inches of water. Just keep hitting it with your water until it gets a couple of inches right there on the surface. See there? Now that will soak down and pre-moisten most of that soil all the way down to the bottom of the bucket. There we go. Let me give that about 15 minutes to soak, and we'll be back after this soaks on down and pre-moistens that container soil down below. Be right back. Okay, our pots have soaked down, as you can see. Next thing I want to do is I want to add in some of my dry container mix. Get that soil level up to about 1 inch below the rim. See? The reason you want it a little bit below the rim is whenever you water it, that it has kind of a catch basin there to capture that water to help you water your plants instead of it just running off the top. So don't fill it up all the way to the top. Just give it a little bit of space there. It makes like a little basin, catch basin. Okay, now I pack it down just a little bit with my hand, lightly, just so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, now I just want to take my finger and just gently push in some dimples, and I want to get those things right out about 1 inch, 1.5 inches apart. And you only want to go down about 1/2 inch deep. Okay, this one is the gold nugget. Let's put it in first. And I can easily pick up one seed at a time and drop it right in them little dimples that we just made. And later on, then I won't have to come back and thin this out. It's already preset at the spacing that you need. All you have to do is just let it grow. Okay, got those in. Next thing I do is I add just a little bit of soil on top, and I mean just a little bit. See, more like a sprinkle. And I put my tag in here, gold nugget, so I can remember what it is. And that's ready to go to the grow table. Okay, let me get the other one done and we'll go over there to the grow table and water them in. Okay, we got our two buckets over here on the, I got a little pallet table here that I use for buckets and containers. And that's what I've got it on to grow with. Now, I'm just lightly watering that in because remember, we already deep soaked these pots a while ago when we put the bone meal in. So they're pretty wet all the way down. I just want to get that top 1 inch surface there to kind of get moistened up a little bit where we added that little bit of extra soil on the top after we soaked. So there we go. They're watered in and are ready to start growing. Here's the buckets that I planted the raw seed in a while back, and Nancy came out here yesterday and she had to thin them all out But as you can see, that's, you know, that's tedious work. And this is after she got through working on it. So it took her about 30 minutes to get those things thinned down. So anyway, that's how they look if you use the raw seed. Okay, we got our 2 buckets planted and watered in, off and running. I want to point out that you want to keep these things moist. Don't let them dry out, because when these seeds finally germinate and they come up with just the finest little hair, like frog hair. I mean, it's fine. And if it sits out in the sun and stays hot and dry, it'll cook them. So you need to come out and check them often. Come out and put your hand on the back of that soil and see if it feels moist on the back of your hand. If it feels dry, then you need to increase your watering a little bit and the frequency. So it's best to check this several times a day when you first get it started, okay? And keep it wet all the way through. Not standing in water, not saturated, moist, okay? So keep your eye on it, and we'll be back in the days ahead, and we'll watch this all the way to harvest. Be back soon. Well, it's been 13 days since we planted our little seeds in our buckets for our carrots. And here's the golden nugget. They're emerging nice and coming up pretty good, nicely. And here's our red sun. They're coming up pretty well too. It looked like I got a little more in the red sun than I did the golden nugget, but I was kind of in a hurry when I was doing it. But anyway, you got the idea. But anyway, these are doing great. These are the little red carrots that Nancy planted. Remember, using the raw seed. And these are the 2 that we planted a few weeks later using pelleted seed. So come on up and take a close look at the gold nugget and the red sun. And you can see what to expect after 13 days. Just remember, when you get these in, that you need to keep these moist. Don't let them dry out. Even if you have to come out multiple times during the day and lightly water. Each time you water, it should be lightly. You should really only be trying to water this maybe a 1/4 of an inch to a 1/2 an inch of the surface, just to get it moist. There's no sense in saturating that big old 5-gallon bucket for a seedling. So you want to just keep it moist so it doesn't dry out, and continue to do so, especially after they emerge, and continue to do that for 2 to 3 weeks afterwards, until you start to see the tops of the seedlings start to produce nice, beautiful, true leaves, the kind that look like ferns coming out of them. So keep them wet, keep them monitored, and in the days ahead, they'll give you some carrots. So we'll be back in a few weeks, and we'll take another look at how these 5-gallon buckets are doing with these carrots. We'll see you soon. Well, welcome back, friends. It's been 12 weeks since we planted our little demonstration of growing carrots in a 5-gallon bucket, and they've come through the winter and they've done okay, and it's coming into spring now. And the 12-week mark is a point where you really want to hit them with a gentle fertilizer. I like to use fish emulsion because it's kind of a low nitrogen, furnishes a nice gentle burst of nitrogen. I want to get these tops to get going really fast and grow hard, which causes the taproot to grow on down and dig on down and get bigger. If I put too high of a nitrogen fertilizer on them, what happens is it gets all tops and no root because it can't support it. So you want to and be careful on your fertilizer with this stuff, and do that about every 3 weeks, and you should have, you know, some fairly good carrots coming out of a 5-gallon bucket. Right here, I wanted to pull one out. Here's this is the gold nugget. Let me get here's a red sun. So there's our 2. This is at the 12-week point. gold nugget, red sun. I expect them to get a little bit bigger than that in the days ahead. So we'll be back shortly, and I'd say about another 3 or 4 weeks, and we'll dump these out, and we'll take a look at how they look then. These carrots, they're hard to get out of a 5-gallon bucket when you try to harvest them. So I don't try to pull them out like I do out of my earth bed. My earth bed's nice and sandy, and it's very easy to harvest. In these buckets, they tend to get compacted. The more you water them, the harder it is to get them out. So the way we harvest these is whenever you do them in a 5-gallon bucket, the easiest way is just dump them out like we do bucket potatoes. Just dump the whole bucket out, search through there, and harvest out your carrots. So we'll be back in 3 or 4 weeks, and we'll do just that. So we'll see you then. Well, welcome back, Homestead family. It's been 16 weeks since we started these carrots in these 5-gallon buckets, and I'd say they're pretty much ready to harvest. We've been kind of picking on this one a little bit as we go, but this one we kind of left alone. But anyway, they're about ready to go. They've overwintered now. We're well into spring. So I thought we'd just grab these buckets up and head over to the harvest area over there and just dump these buckets out and clean them up and have these for lunch. So let's head over to the harvest area. Well, there we go. Got them all cleaned up. Nice little harvest out of 2 little 5-gallon buckets. And this video goes out especially for Delilah in South Carolina. She watches our channel. She's in the 4th grade, and she asked her mama to contact us about showing a video on how to grow these carrots in a 5-gallon bucket, because she wants to grow them on her balcony because they live in an apartment. And I hope that this really helped you, honey, and that you have found a true joy of gardening at such a young age. Gracious Lord, we give you thanks for these and all other blessings. Forgive us of our many sins. We humbly beg for Christ's sake. Amen.
Amen.
Boy, those carrots look wonderful.
They are. I love them roasted. I wanted to do very simple, not much, but when you get it fresh from the garden, there's nothing like it. Thank you, handsome. Oh, yeah. Just roast it for, yeah. And you grew this in the 5-gallon bucket, right?
Yeah, these were in the 5-gallon bucket because Delilah in South Carolina requested it.
Oh, wonderful.
So her and her mama are growing these on their balcony. They live in a apartment complex.
Oh.
And they're growing it on their balcony in a 5-gallon bucket.
Wonderful. I'm glad we are able to do that, show that you can be done.
Looks really good.
It is, I'm sure. It's going to be wonderful. Let's eat and taste. Mmm. Mmm.
Mm.
They are so sweet. Good.
Mm.
They turned out it's nothing like
very
homegrown.
good.
Nothing like homegrown potato. Mm. Mm.
It really tastes good coming out of the oven.
That's awesome.